GBTC, which is Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, a lot of times there can be a divergence or a difference in price between what the value of buying Bitcoin in their trust is versus buying Bitcoin on the spot market or on crypto exchange market. Because essentially what this is, Grayscale, essentially you can buy shares much like you would buy, essentially you buy a stock from Grayscale Trust. And with that, you get, based on your investment, you get an exposure directly to Bitcoin. So in a weird kind of sneaky way, it's an opportunity for, and this is for all retail investors as well, but institutional, there's been a lot of institutional investment and interest that's been pouring into the Grayscale GBTC. It's almost like an undercover way to get exposure to Bitcoin without actually buying Bitcoin itself, and they've been seeing a large uptick in institutional interest in buying on the GBTC because essentially you're able to get the exposure to Bitcoin at a discount. And then the last thing I really wanted to dive into here is that the whale stablecoin buying power has grown 7% in a month. And essentially what this means is when a whale or even retail investment, when people are still interested in being involved in the crypto sector of the investment market, crypto assets, essentially, they might move out of Bitcoin, but if they're holding it in stablecoin, essentially, I think Will Clemente identified this. I think he called it dry powder keg, almost like loading up gunpowder for a large explosion. This is essentially buying power. This is money that's sitting there ready to be redeployed back into buying crypto, back into buying Bitcoin. And as you can see on this chart right here, this light purple line, there's been a very steady increase of essentially whales by accumulating USDT, essentially waiting on the sidelines, ready to deploy that into Bitcoin as soon as it gets to the price that they want to buy, which is one of the reasons why when we're looking at this price, although that we are in an ascending triangle, it makes perfect sense, exactly like Tim said, and like I was saying, that we come back up and we have a fake out down. The fake out down would be the opportunity where the whales will be driving the price to be very, very attractive price for them to deploy this stable coin that's sitting on the sideline back into Bitcoin. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm curious what your thoughts are about this, Tim, and how you think this might all play out into the charts.
You know, what I'm going to do is first, before I give a response, I want to ask you, because I want to make sure, you know, that I'm not off my bearing. But there is a case that people have made that stablecoins investing, and the reason why people are going to leave a lot of money in stablecoins is that they can gain interest on those. Now, with the stablecoins being so closely tied to the dollar, let me ask you, Kelly, do you believe that there's a significant amount of benefit to making interest on a stablecoin that's being pegged to the US dollar, which is dying every single day?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to what I said in that I think it's more about people being very creative, which anybody that's made money, that's created wealth, and they smart money, essentially, there's almost like this game of chess that's always being played about trying to deploy your capital where it's going to serve you the best. So right now, because the Bitcoin market is in a sort of unclear trend, it's safer. They can essentially harvest income from, like you just said, having it in DeFi protocols, taking, yield farming and stuff like that from their stablecoin portfolios. But I forgot to show you this. I'm going to pull this up really quick. This is from the same article, but this is the chart that shows the amount. This supports what you're saying about the amount of money coming off exchanges. And so there's this jockeying back and forth between, basically shuffling between what projects. And this is the same reason why when Bitcoin is moving very strong, sometimes altcoins move slower. And then when Bitcoin slows down, people reshuffle their cards, they reshuffle their deck, they reshuffle their portfolios, and they deploy their money now into altcoins. And then you have an altcoin season. And then right now, because everything's undetermined, people are moving it into stable coins. And then what's the next thing in that sort of circle? The next thing is back into Bitcoin, and then we'll see altcoins. So right now we're just in that stage of the cycle.
Yeah, and the reason I asked you that question is because I'm of the opinion that I do believe there are people who are leaving it there for, I think somebody even just put in chat 12% APY, which is greater than the rate of inflation, but not by a lot. If people want their money to grow, why are they putting it into a stable coin and not putting it into real estate or putting it into a different investment that's growing? Like gold, I mean, at the moment, a lot of people still want to go to gold. I don't think it's wrong to invest in gold. I just think that Bitcoin and crypto is maybe going to be better in the long run. However, when we've seen this in the past, when you do your back analysis and you're seeing these stable coins grow, they're preparing themselves for a massive buy-in. Now, I know I've looked at the level. I can't remember the exact number, but we did the math. The stable coins alone is not going to skyrocket Bitcoin back to all-time highs. There's not enough there. If every single stable coin went directly into Bitcoin, Bitcoin would only make it up into the higher 40,000s. It wouldn't even make it back over 50. So we still need some outside funding and volume to come into the space. But what we see happening, what I thought was interesting looking at these different stories, because we talked about stable coins, we talked about Grayscale. And the thing about Grayscale is that at the moment is kind of an ability for these institutions and whales to get their hands and their thoughts into crypto, but not be fully dirty. Their hands don't really have the mud on them the way anyone who went and set up their own wallet and bought Bitcoin would have. But what it's going to do is expose them to the massive upside of Bitcoin as a whole, as its ability to fight inflation and its ability to be a stable, sound money for the world. So while I see right now this not necessarily having the biggest impact on price, I believe that I think all of us should have this mindset of stop thinking about the next 2 weeks. Now, as a trader, think about the next 2 weeks. If you're trading, you're making your living off of trading, that's great. I'm not talking to that right now. I'm talking about the person who tunes in every single day to this show and other shows. I'm talking to the person who's watching these charts saying, I want to build wealth for my children, for my retirement. It's you I'm speaking to, the DCAers, the investors. Look at these stories and understand the implications. We have people sitting on the sidelines with a massive amount of money saying, I'm waiting for the right moment and I'm going to get in. We have institutions saying, this is looking really enticing. I'm not ready to jump in the deep end yet, but I'm going to splash in the shallow end. And when they see its productivity, when they see how much better it is in the current money situation, we're going to see that large investment that we've been talking about. I am a big believer in Wyckoff. I'm a big believer in his teachings and how he talks about the concepts of how you set up for, someone said in chat earlier, a trigger or what he calls a spring. You want to FOMO and FUD people out at all the right moments, but ultimately what the whales and institutions are doing is they have their buy point. They like that number and they're going to try to get down to that number and buy as much of it as possible. I do believe that's what's happening. I do think that's what's coming. And those who are paying attention and who are educated realize that's coming. Those who are listening to the news stories and just trying to follow day in and day out are getting fudded out or FOMO'd in at the wrong times and they're confused. I believe that everything we're seeing right now on those stable coins information and the growing interest for the last couple of months of Grayscale in the trust is massively bullish for the longevity of Bitcoin and is why I have so much faith at taking my Bitcoin, putting it in a cold wallet, and letting it sit there. If we go down to 20,000, it's going to sit there. If we go and skyrocket up to 60,000, it's going to sit there. I have a plan for the next bear market, but right now I'm hunkering down. I'm hodling. I have some small trading stuff that I'm doing on the side, but as a whole, my main focus is on the longevity of my wealth with Bitcoin, and that I am seeing bullish signs popping up all over the place. But Smay, I want to hear what your thoughts are for the last couple of minutes before we transition back into Super Chats.
I mean, obviously, I don't think I have anything profound to say because you guys have pretty much said it. But, yeah, I think once we get past this time I think there's almost something about uncertainty that I think it's like at a certain point, people are just going to be like, all right, well, clearly nothing really bad has happened, so I might as well start buying again. I think that's where we're starting to get to. I think there's been so much like, and it's like you're waiting for the noise.
Yeah.
And you're waiting, and then it's like, okay. Yeah, no, there's no noise. Okay, we're good. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think people are going to get right back into it. And I think that's where we're starting to get to. So I think right now we're definitely trading in a very boring manner.
Yeah.
But just wait.
No, and this is the last thing. I'm going to throw it to Kelly here before Super Chats. But the other thing I'm going to say is if you are overly bullish in the sense of saying today we are shooting up over 45,000, or if you're overly bearish saying we're about to drop down to 20,000, they have you right where they want you. they have you being either ridiculously moon boyish or ridiculously scared and thinking Bitcoin's crashing and dying. You need to take a step back. When in doubt, zoom out, breathe, and think about the future with everything that's happening here. Again, short time frame, I'm not massively bullish. Long time frame, I'm massively bullish, but I'm going to keep my head on my shoulders. I'm going to think. I'm going to continue to up my education. I'm going to pour my attention into listening to people who know better. I'm not going to just FOMO in or FUD out of the market right now. Kelly, last thoughts before we go to Super Chats?
The most bullish thing that I can show you, and this is right in line with what I said before, but this is showing 81% of the weeks of the past 6 months have seen Bitcoin outflows from exchange. With this massive drawdown in price, the market as a whole, the participants as a whole, institutional and retail, smart money and new money, cumulatively overall has been taking money off exchanges. This is incredibly bullish. And that not only that, we have March wrapping up, which would it would be the end of Q1. And so the number one thing I'm looking forward to in the next 6 weeks is when in April, when we start to get some of the Q1 earnings reports, because I honestly think because of this massive drawdown, we are going to get some incredibly bullish news from a number of different institutional players that have likely gotten in at these super attractive prices.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely consider subscribing because we're trying to help you become financially free in these cryptocurrency markets. And also, consider following us on Twitter @CryptoJeb for more updates on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Peace.